Ted Cruz asked all sorts of incredibly embarrassing questions to Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson, who of course is undergoing these confirmation hearings as a Supreme Court nominee. And one of the things that he brought up in this manufactured culture war circus was transgender rights and whether or not he has the right to identify differently. He used a fascinating example. Let's watch.
I'm an Hispanic man. Could I decide I was an Asian man? Would I have the ability to be an Asian man and challenge Harvard's discrimination because I made that decision?
Senator, I'm not able to answer your question. You're asking me about hypotheticals and
I'm asking you how you would assess standing if I came in and said I have decided I identify as an Asian man.
I would assess standing the way I assess other legal issues, which is to listen to the arguments made by the parties, consider the relevant precedents and the constitutional principles involved, and make a determination.
Yeah,
they make a mockery out of government. They make a mockery out of the Supreme Court. What is the point of having these hearings if you're going to be asking her questions that are super irrelevant to what she would be doing as a Supreme Court justice?
Exactly. Yeah, look, I get that there are people who don't understand what the experience of a trans person is like. Partially because our society has pretended that it doesn't exist for so long, partially because there's been so little representation in media. It is difficult for people who haven't had that experience to understand it. But it takes extra work to try to draw an equivalence with what if I thought that I was Asian? What if I thought that I was rich? Do you have to give me? No, that's not actually how gender works. Gender is a self-expression. Some of the other things that you jokingly use to attack and alienate trans people are based on something else. These are just not things you can compare to. And I feel so terrible. Like he represents an entire state and not a small one. How many trans people are there in Texas that have to see that that is what their elected representative, a powerful individual like Ted Cruz, thinks about their life and their choices? How many of them are diehard conservatives? Like if you are in Texas and you're trans and you're conservative, what are you supposed to do? Because Ted Cruz is hardly the most xenophobic against your community. He's playing ball. And all of them are, by the way, let's keep it real, not because they really have anything against trans people. I mean, I'm sure there's something to that. They're hateful people. It's because for a very long time, they were able to just attack gay people.
Yep.
They loved it, they ran on it, they made whole elections about it. And society, thankfully, very slowly, with lots of things weighing it down, finally started to be a little bit more inclusive. And they thought, well, that's not as popular. The trans community, though, you can still get away with a lot when it comes to them. It's the most cynical sort of politics.
It's so true. It's so true. It's all they focus on. And it's a strategy that we've seen with the Republican Party for a long time, where their political bread and butter is just hyper focused on the most powerless group that they can attack and get away with, right? That they can fearmonger about and get away with. Remember, I mean, we see it in so many different contexts. They use fear for their campaigning, right? Yeah. Fear of the others, fear of immigrants, fear of asylum seekers, fear of gay marriage, fear of transgender people, fear of Iraq, fear of Afghanistan. Like
fear of Muslims, fear of convoys, fear of whatever.
Whatever it is, they'll find something to attack, someone to attack, a group of people to attack that they have deemed powerless, so they can fearmonger about them and focus all of their political campaigning on it. For some reason, voters don't take a step back to understand the manipulation that's taking place, but more importantly, how respecting these groups or wanting to ensure that they have rights or wanting to protect their rights, how does that in any way negatively impact their lives?
Yeah.
Like how would it negatively, that's the thing that I've never understood, right? When it comes to the transgender community, how exactly does it make your life in any way worse if you respect their gender identity? If you treat them with respect, if you treat them as humans should be treated. as people should be treated?
Well, in two ways. So one is made up scenarios where they're going to assault you in bathrooms. It doesn't actually exist, but they've tried to make it something you should be terrified of. And the other is if you have been told that you are better in a ton of ways, not economically, because there's very little opportunity left in this country and nobody's advocating for you, but we've created other groups that you get to look down on. If they have to respect this group, then they're no longer superior to it. They have lost a feigned, phony superiority that they'd become very accustomed to.
It's incredibly frustrating. And the other thing that Ted Cruz just can't get enough of is the anti-critical race theory narrative. This is their rallying cry, they're sticking to it, and this is how laughable he looked during the hearings. Let's watch.
Judge Jackson, welcome. Critical race theory. Critical race theory. Critical race theory. Marxists. Marxism. Critical race theory. Critical race theory. Critical race theory. Filled and overflowing with critical race theory. Critical race theory, an introduction. But how to be an anti-racist. Anti-racist baby. Babies are taught to be racist or anti-racist. The babies confess when being racist. Babies are racist. Can we send white people back to Europe? Critical race theory, child pornography, sexual predators, sex crimes, release sex offenders, give sex offender statutes, in which sex offenders for sexual predators, 6,300 sex offenders would be released to the public. And we're talking about child pornography offenders who may not be pedophiles, child pornography, child pornography, pedophiles, child pornography. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I recall Ted Cruz phone banking for a guy who bragged on tape about grabbing women by the about grabbing them and kissing them without even asking. So you want to talk about predators?
Yeah.
Let's talk about the guy, the former president, who had literally dozens of women accusing him of sexual misconduct. Republican Party went real easy on that guy.
Yeah.
What about Roy Moore? Roy Moore, who ran for a Senate seat, I believe, in the great state of Alabama. What were the accusations against Roy Moore?
A lot of serial dating with little girls. That's what it was, yeah.
Pedophilia, right?
Yeah.
Molestation of underage girls. Was Ted Cruz outspoken against Roy Moore?
Yeah, well, I mean, he couldn't. He didn't have the time. He's been on a campaign to get people to get Matt Gaetz and Jim Jordan out of Congress, obviously, because they have a big issue with this sort of thing.
Oh, jack it off, Jim.
Exactly, yeah. He just
Jim
had
Jordan.
such a problem with the fact that Jim Jordan was a necessary institutional protection for a child predator.
Yeah.
And he just served to stop justice in that case. So yeah, no, he must have been too focused on that.
No, it's
a disgusting joke is what it is.
And what have we seen from Democratic leadership? Dick Durbin, who is the chair of the Senate Judiciary Committee. I mean, listen, why is he not shutting this down? Cut the mic. We have one more video that I want to go to make the point about how Democratic leadership has really failed in this regard. Real quick, let's watch that.
Just 6,700 images. You come in with 57
Time
months.
has expired.
Why
Senators
did you
use 2
sentence
minutes
him to
over the
just
allotted
57 months in the Stewart case? Do you want to address that? Because you're claiming it's cherry picking. In fact, you're welcome to explain any of these cases, but let's take the Stewart case. Why
Senator Coons,
did you sentence him for half the amount?
you're not recognized, Senator. Senator Coons,
Do you not want her to answer that question?
you wouldn't allow her any.
Mr. Chairman, she may answer the question. I've asked her why she sentenced Stewart.
You've gone over the time, Senator, by 2 minutes.
Why she? Because you've interrupted me for 2 minutes, Mr. Chairman. Will you allow her to answer the question, or do you not want the American people to hear why, with someone she described as an egregious?
There comes a point, Senator, where you get a little bit.
Chairman Durbin, will you allow her to answer the question?
You won't allow her to answer.
I will happily allow her to. The question is
Senator
why
Coons,
you sentenced Stewart, an egregious child pornography possessor, to half of the amount requested by the prosecutor.
Please, Senator.
Will you allow her to answer the question, Chairman Durbin?
Senator Coons.
Why are you not allowing her to answer the question? There's not another senator here that you've not allowed her to answer the question. I'm not asking another question, but allow her to answer the question, Chairman Durbin.
Thank you, Chairman.
Why do you not want the American people to know what happened in the Stewart case or any of these cases? Chairman Durbin, I've never seen the chairman refuse to allow a witness to answer a question. You can bang it as loud as you want.
Well, I can just tell you, at some point you have to follow the rules.
Okay, will you let her answer the question? You've been interrupting, and by the way, with Senator Graham, it went 10 minutes over. You've taken a big chunk of the time. Will you allow her to answer the question?
You've given her.
Why are you afraid of her? She's welcome to answer it right now. Will you let her?
Senator Coons.
Will you let? So no, you don't want her to answer the question?
Senator Coons.
Will you let her answer the question?
Chairman Durbin.
Apparently, we're very afraid of the American people hearing the answer to that question.
We here in the Senate, in this committee today, are in the middle of a policy fight.
Sir, you are breaking the rules. I ask you kindly to please stop. What are you doing? Is Dick Durbin asleep? That's leadership? That's leadership. Allowing a clown like Cruz to steamroll you like that. To be as disrespectful of everyone's time, but more importantly, of Judge Jackson's time.
Yeah.
Like the lack of leadership among Democratic leadership is so embarrassing, so flaccid, so impotent, so embarrassing. I can't take it.
Yeah, no, 100%. And honestly, like generally, I don't find Cruz to be persuasive as a speaker, but I found what he was doing to be quite effective, because I would have done almost anything to stop him from talking, including asking Ketanji Brown Jackson to withdraw her nomination, if that's what it takes. That's the most I've ever heard Ted Cruz speak in one go, and I think I've had my fill for the rest of my life.
Imagine being stuck in a room with him.
Oh, his screechy voice. His
theatrics.
And by the way, like he's trying to pretend that he's got like the secret thing that's gonna sink her candidacy. All he's doing is alluding to the Josh Hawley QAnon stuff. But he's so like, he went over and he's using that to pretend that he's asking devastating questions.
Yes.
Make it end.
Thanks for watching the Young Turks. Really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.